go, go, go. That's the birthday. That's the birthday.
What up, Z fam? It's your boy Z-Dog MD, and unlike some people on the set tonight, I am stone cold sober.
That's right, we be drinking, y'all.
And this is how lay people like Tom Heineber and Logan Stewart and their two friends in the back, Chance
This
and
is
Carter.
Juan Pablo and Carlos right here.
Yes,
They're my drinking buddies.
they are. You guys think he's kidding? He's being totally honest. I told them today that I saw an article in Vox, my favorite scientific journal, that was talking about the study we talked about the other day about alcohol and how the prevalence of alcohol. Hey, wait, what is this?
Sexy ass cam, that's what it
Oh
is.
yeah. Wait a minute. I'm not. Is that what it looks like?
Don't do that.
I don't like it.
Ugh.
I love it.
There's some guy looking out the window.
Some guy's out the window right now.
Yeah, he's like, what? You know what? You know what's funny is like I would never wear these pants on camera, and I didn't know they were setting up this thing. And these are like the Nacho Libre stretchy pants, but I'm kind of glad I wore them now because I look like a total idiot. Anyway, so the talk we did the other day about seven reasons to be addicted to alcohol, and it was about how the prevalence of alcohol use disordered drinking over the period of 2001 to 2002 compared with 2012, 2013 or so, how it had increased by roughly 50%, and we made a big brouhaha, and we went through the study, and we talked about it. Well, it turns out that there is some controversy with the study that you would not have been able to know reading just the study in isolation. Although in the discussion section of the study, they did talk about this a little bit. They said, well, there might have been some methodology issues, but it doesn't affect the results. It won't affect the results of the trial. Well, that may not be the case, Tom Heineber.
What happened was I had done crunch the numbers, and it turns out we're not nearly as alcoholic as they said they were. So I hit up Juan Pablo and Carlos back here, and I said, boys, hit me with your, come on. Let's get it done for America. For America.
Hold my LaCroix. So let me pull up your comments because I want to talk about this because it gets to the heart of how we look at scientific papers, how the press can lead or mislead us, and what the hell is actually going on with alcohol use in this country. I think very few people would argue that we don't have an alcohol abuse problem in the U.S., except for these guys, because they're in what we call denial. But the rest of us would probably say, especially those who work in healthcare, that causes of death and morbidity from alcohol consumption have actually been rising, liver disease and alcohol-related ailments. So we need to get to the bottom of like what is actually going on. Well, it turns out, I'm going to show you an article here that came out today, and go ahead with the inset cam there. And it says, a study finding a huge increase in alcoholism may have been seriously flawed. Let's go back. Hey, the butt cam. So what's the deal with science? Is it totally effed up? Do we have any hope at all for getting things right? Or is this an overreaction of the press to some methodological issues in the original study?
Here's the problem, Z. If science can be wrong, then it's no worse than not science.
It's true.
You might as well just remove from your system all the vaccinations you got, put on a tin foil helmet, and go chemtrail chasing.
That's right.
Because that's where that line of reasoning goes to. The reason that science rocks is that people do falsify it. They do find out that it's wrong. Wakefield's paper on MMR was retracted because it turned out to be totally fabricated. Well, that's science. You screw up, you find out, your peers realize it, and it gets adjusted. Now the question is, are we doing that enough? In this case, this is how this went down. So it was in JAMA Psychiatry, the original study, and it was talking about looking at the prevalence, the existing amount of alcohol use disorder as defined by DSM-4 at that time, from that early 2000s to a decade later. And they found these really dramatic increases in alcohol use disorder. Now, what's interesting is a sort of competing survey and study found that alcohol use disorder levels were actually stable or decreasing. They were both federal type surveys, so not necessarily biased by commercial interests, although you always have to look at what's going on there. But that sort of survey, which used different methodology, actually showed this totally different outcome. And the question is, what the hell is going on? Well, it turns out that the authors of the original paper were in conflict with people doing this newer survey, at least from what we can tell from the Vox article. So let me go through this a little bit, and we'll see where things went crazy, and then come back and figure out, are we drunk enough? Do we need to drink more?
The answer is yes.
Just go to the butt cam, because I think
Sexy butt cam.
the butt knows everything at this point. You know why the butt is so sexy? Because there's a wallet in it with like $10. All right, that being said, here is the article in summary, okay? We're going to go through it really quick. I don't know where Tom went, but he broke something in the process. Oh, there he comes. Oh.
I had to get a beer, man.
I needed another one, you guys. I'm sorry. I left a reasonably solid career as a hospitalist at a big academic center to do this.
Science!
Now I'm in Logan. Yeah, hit me, Logan.
Boom.
I screwed up! Anyways, let's go through this article. By the way, did you notice the bump in viewers since you showed my butt? It's now 900 and some.
All right, that's
Go back to the butt
that's
cam.
Correlation. That's
No, it's not.
correlation,
No,
causation.
it's not
Zeke.
correlation. This is causation.
That's correlation, man.
This is causation.
This is a science show, dude.
This
Where's your evidence?
Look at it. It's ticking up, Tom Heineber. All right, anyways. So quickly, the science. Now, the research, so here's the prequel. Multiple media outlets, including Washington Post, Bloomberg, and yes, Vox, including ZDoggMD, reported on a study in JAMA Psychiatry that had an alarming finding. The rate of alcohol use disorder, or alcoholism for the lay people, or muggles, non-medical folk, increased more than 49% over the decade. Well, now researchers are pushing back. They argue that the data that was used in the study was based on a federal survey that underwent major methodological changes between 2001 and 2012. Well, hey, how are we supposed to know that reading the original trial paper? We can't unless we dug into the actual survey, and that's not easy to do. So this is where the challenges behind vetting science come out. So here's the premise. You take a survey in 2001 that asks about alcohol use, okay? And it was a face-to-face survey of, actually, this was interesting. It was Census Bureau employees. Did you know that?
No.
So government employees.
So they figure we're already doing the census. Might as well find out how much these dudes drink.
Actually, no. It was the employees of the Census Bureau.
Oh.
So government functionaries, right? So they asked those guys, hey, how much do you drink? And they go through the whole question. Okay, now here's the change with when they redid the survey between 2012 and 2013. No longer government employees, just random people. The next thing they did that was funky, oh, I'm missing it. I'm so confused right now. Let's just get some views. No, let's just get some views. Go ahead.
Alexander Wu's created a new drinking game, which is down a drink every time you see the ass cam.
Drink!
So here's the methodology difference. So no longer government employees are surveyed in the second one. They tell the new group of non-government employees, we're also going to saliva test you for certain drugs and things. And then we're going to do the survey. Well, can you guys think about, first of all, what are the differences between government employees taking a survey about alcohol abuse and regular muggles taking a survey about alcohol abuse? The theory is that
Government employees are going to lie.
They're going to lie.
Safety, job safety.
Because they're worried about, working for the government. They're held to a higher standard, which is, of course, the opposite of what's actually true. But that they're worried that they're being judged, right? And it's a federal survey. So they may have lied about their stuff. Now, in 2012, not only are they not government employees, but they also are told, well, we're going to saliva test you. So they're probably thinking in a basic way, well, I'm not going to lie because they're just going to find out I'm lying with the saliva test, so I'm going to be more honest. So what you have between these two data sets is a group that's lying through their teeth about their alcohol use and a group that's more honest, potentially. Now, what's that going to show?
Flawed science.
Flawed science. It showed a 50% increase in the prevalence of alcohol use disorder. Well,
that's right.
Yeah. So if that's true, right, then that's a major flaw. Now, the way to test that is do a different survey with different methodology, and it turns out they did. And they showed that alcohol use, when you actually control for differences in the surveys, was actually stable or decreasing. Alcohol abuse alcohol use disorder. Again, we're getting into semantics, but alcohol use disorder, which is very strictly defined within the parameters of the trial. So what are we to believe? Now, what's interesting is, again, in both trials, where is the financial incentive? Are there conflicts of interest? We talked yesterday, when you're looking at a scientific study, you have to look at the disclosures, right, to see who's in whose pocket and are they influenced by money. Well, in this case, both groups are federal employees. They just work for different bureaus, right? So maybe there's some weird stuff going on, but when you look at the response from the lead researcher on the JAMA article, the one that showed the big increase in alcohol use, apparently the Vox people reached out and said, hey, what's going on with this? And Bridget Grant, who was the lead author with the NIAAA, which is the org that was doing that one, shot back by email. Now this shot back by email is editorializing by Vox. There were no changes in the NESARC methodology. That's the trial that they used, the database that they used, the survey that they used, between the waves that we studied and the NSDUH, or NSDA group. That's the competing survey that showed a decrease in alcohol use disorder, or at least stability. Folks know nothing about NESARC. Please do not contact me again, as I do not know the NSDA methodology and would not be so presumptuous to believe that I did. That is the equivalent in science of like, shut the F up! You don't know me! You didn't look at my data! Acting like you know, they acting like they know me, Tom Heineberg.
I do what I want with my data. I do what I want with my data. Mm-hmm.
My data brings all the nerds to the yard, and their abacus is cooler than... Anyway, so the idea then is that we have dueling sort of opinions, and so you have to go dig into the data. Now, here's a third-party sort of review on this. So researchers from some other group told me that they would caution against trying to use different waves of NESARC, that's that first database, to gauge trends. Quote, given these points, we would strongly caution against using 2 points in time as an indicator and trend, especially when the data from these 2 points were collected using very different methods and do not appear to be comparable. So you're comparing apples to pickles, basically, right? And it's not a useful comparison. We would encourage the consideration of data from multiple sources and more than 2 time points in order to paint a more complete and accurate portrayal of substance use and substance use disorder in the nation. So they're basically saying, nope, this is crap. And the original authors are like, you don't know me. So this is the politics of science, right? Now imagine, here's the thing, Tom, we're already having trouble with this data set. This is a big public trial. What happens with these shitty nutritional studies that are like, eat more beef, or eat more vegetables, or coconut oil causes you to go blind more than compared to the masturbation group?
Well, and they're flawed by time, right? Like you can't take a population and do it over a long time scale, so you're never going to get good nutritional science.
Well, you're never going to get great nutritional science that's one reason. In other words, you would have to randomize human beings at birth to one diet or another and then enforce that diet, and that is really unfeasible. So
and uncool. Not cool, dude.
Dude,
like, come on.
If I want a McFlurry, okay, I'm gonna go. If I want to drink my La Croix, unfiltered, like I do. By the way, Coconut La Croix, they don't sponsor us, but they need to, because the whole team drinks this ish because it's fizzy. And
they'd be like, I'm sorry, sir, I know you like pizza, but we've selected you to only eat kale. So.
You know what, but you gotta blind. This is the other thing, is you gotta you gotta blind the study. And what that means is that the participants can't know what group they're in. So you eat a pizza, it's gonna be placebo pizza, potentially, and it's gonna be made of kale, but they're gonna have to make it look like pizza.
So in a double-blind study about nutrition, one group would be getting pizza and one group would be getting cardboard. Or Totino's frozen pizza, which is the same as cardboard.
Which is basically the same. By the way, I lived off Totino's party pizzas in college, and there was a place called Grocery Outlet in Berkeley where we used to get all our food. It was where literally you would go if you were on WIC or something because you were broke. And I was like, that's me, because I'm in college, and we would buy Totino's party pizzas in bulk that had expired, and they were delicious.
So is double-blind the only legit way to do a study?
No, I mean, it's not. That's the thing, and sometimes it's impossible. Like in this case. Like, for example, a double-blind randomized controlled trial, and let me just parse that for people. Double-blind means both the investigators of the trial and the people being studied don't know what group they're in. So they're randomly assigned to a group, that's the randomized part, Controlled means there's a placebo control group that didn't get the treatment, right? And double blind means both the researchers and the subjects have no idea what group anybody's in, because anytime you do less than that, you're introducing kinds of bias, right? Randomized control trials have their own biases, but they're less robust biases than, say, a non-randomized control trial. Now, how do you do a randomized control trial on vaccines, for example? You don't, because it is unethical. It would never pass an institutional review board that looks at this and goes, you know what, that's probably Tuskegee type shit right there. You can't do that to human beings, because randomizing infants to a placebo vaccine group means they are unprotected against measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus, pertussis, all this other stuff. And that's unethical, because we know vaccines work from the science that we do have. So that's where the limits of randomized controls. You can't always do that. Should we hit some questions here? Some comments?
Let's do it. Deborah says, Z, you got to wear loose pants if you want us to pay attention. Ask Cam that shit.
Drink. Drink.
I had no idea they set up the cameras this way because we had shot our Z-Dog MD reviews vaxxed today, and that was the setup. And I come back and I'm like, no one moved the cameras back where they're supposed to be. And they were like, no, we're going to do it this way. And I'm like, well, then I would have worn, more flattering ass pants than the stretchy pants that I put on that are basically pajamas. And even then, it would look bad. Heather DC has nothing here except for, aw, thanks, Heather. I want to be in the taco group, says Angie Barco. I mean, if you could choose what group you're randomized to, then I'm not sure the science would be as robust, but I like the taco group myself.
I came in late. Who are these guys behind Tom and Logan? This is Juan Pablo, and this is Carlos. I met them backpacking through Europe one summer. They're real gentlemen, and we only did minor gay stuff, like nothing serious.
Well, what happens in hostels stays in hostels. Or is broadcast to 680 live viewers on what was a medical show about science. So,
It's
either
twerk
way.
time, Z. It's twerk time, Z.
Twerk time?
Z can't twerk.
Oh, God, it hurts my back just thinking about twerking. Oh, why you gotta make me twerk?
Somebody asked for it.
Look at, dude, and we're getting creepy faces. I didn't know there was a creepy face emoji, but it got made.
So how do we fix these studies, since it's unethical to do them the correct way? Are we going to have to wait for some sort of hypothetical future where we have sophisticated enough computer modeling that we can do them? Because that seems far off.
It is. I think what we have to do is we have to spend as much effort as we do doing useless, dumb things like drinking all day. We have to spend that effort on designing better methodologies, better trial approaches, better peer review, and better public support and education about science. Because when the public is better educated, that means that the public is going to hold people accountable. They're going to be like, this is bullshit. Like, the Earth is not flat. Like, it just isn't. Here's the data, right? Whereas now it's kind of like, well, could the Earth be flat? Well, heck. Sounds about right to me. I don't see it all curved.
Well, isn't that that's postmodernism, right? It's like choose your own reality. We're living in the Pulp Fiction version of reality. Like, turn to page 97 if you think the Earth is flat.
Yeah, well, postmodernism can be blamed for a lot of things, and that may be one of them. But now I consider myself post-modern and pre-diabetic, and also. Let's see where we are here, boys.
Tony LJ says standardization.
Standardization of everything. Costco pants? How dare you, Heather DC? These were bought off of Gilt, G-I-L-T. That's where you get designer clothes for less.
Real quick, I've heard a lot of stuff about, mice and like are mice the perfect way to do things? Is that your mouse face?
I'm just screwing with the camera and trying to see how beautiful I can look. Are mice a good model? So the mouse model, and this is from somebody who did a thesis in college in a genetics lab working with Drosophila melanogaster, or the humble fruit fly. So I am a believer in animal and insect models for studying disease. Now, great, now the vegans are going to be pissed off that I believe in animal research.
Yeah.
But mice, while adorable, and you guys have seen Z Hamster, are a tremendous mammalian model for studying disease. However, what happens in mice sometimes stays in mice and does not applicably transfer to humans. So that's why you ultimately end up with human trials. But you got to start somewhere, because otherwise we'd kill entire groups of humans testing untested stuff.
What do you think about, like, from a pure science point, the studies the Nazis and the communists did?
Why you got to ask these ethically charged
That's-
questions?
Well, I think, any
Because aren't they
layperson,
referenced a lot?
any layperson who hears about who was the Nazi doctor who experimented on Jews with no anesthesia, right? Like everybody who hears that is like, that's the worst human being on the earth. Like he was worse than Hitler.
Well,
He's the worst person imaginable.
The question is, what do you do with the data they collected?
Yeah.
So they killed and tortured people to get this data. Is the data useful, or is it biased by evil? Is that even a thing? And these are questions beyond my feeble mind's ability. I will say this, there's a trend recently, my wife and I, Mrs. Dog and I were just discussing this, where there are a lot of diseases named after old German doctors, because Germany actually had a lock on science for a lot of the early 20th century, because it's frickin' Germany, man. They're like, well, I'm a mad scientist, and you're a mad scientist. I drink the LaCroix, and the next thing you know, boom, atom bomb. So they were
a little over-eager with their science, though. Let's be real here. Like, eugenics, not the best idea.
Hey, Panda, BMW, okay?
I don't know
M6.
where you're going with that.
That's
He hasn't even
German.
had any alcohol, you guys.
That's German. No, I'm sober. You guys should smell this LaCroix. Here's the thing. So these scientists that named things like, Reiter's syndrome or Wegener's syndrome, these very famous syndromes that we in medicine know very well, are now, it gets revealed that they were either Nazi sympathizers or working with the Nazis or closet Nazis. And now there is institutional movements to strip these names from the diseases and instead call it HLA-B27 deficiency syndrome X, honestly, this is a tricky piece, because if you're an asshole, should you have a disease named after you? I feel like that's actually kind of cool, because then you're associated with something shitty. Like, like having Reiter syndrome. Reiter syndrome is a horrible inflammatory spinal and arthritic condition. Like, yeah, Reiter, you deserve that, because you were a Nazi if that was true.
That's right. Like, we should rename Lou Gehrig's disease, because Lou Gehrig was dope.
He was dope.
We should call orgasm should be called Lou Gehrig's.
Right, right. They should call an orgasm Lou Gehrig syndrome. And they should call Lou Gehrig's ALS, right? They should rename it Martin Shkreli syndrome or something, right? Like some douchey, butthole. Speaking of buttholes, go ahead, hit me. Yeah. What does Tad have to say about this? Go to the Tad cam. Butts. All right, guys.
This show is so off the rails. I love it.
Yeah, this was probably the most fun I've had on a show. We got to bring these boys over, and they're just sitting there quietly. It's just they've unleashed insanity in all of our minds. I hope you guys had fun. Again, our goal of this show is to have fun, also talk science in a bro-ish but not bro science way. And
we're talking real science like bros instead of being bros and talking bro science. You know what I'm saying, bro? It's true.
Bro, I'm totally on it, bro. By the way, bro, if you got pictures from those hostels, hit me up with that, because Europe,
I'll let you know, bro.
Bro. Sometimes you wear the stretchy pants, Tom Heinever.
And sometimes they wear you.
Diane says, I'm trying to figure out what we're supposed to be learning here. I missed the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you, was it not clear? So you should have caught the show, because we talked about science and methodology problems and looking at trials and understanding how we can determine whether science is valid or not. And it's a constant iterative process where you question everything. And this is how science works. This is why we should not have faith in science. We make good science by actually constantly questioning everything. The beautiful thing about science is you can change your mind when new data contradicts what came out before. That's the magic. You show me really good science that vaccines cause autism, and I will be the first to say I was wrong, Wakefield was right, Jenny McCarthy is a queen. That will never happen, because the science has already been done. Unless Martians come down and lie to us, because they're liars. LaCroix snitches. We need some sponsors. LaCroix, you hear me? I like your drink.
Carrie says Lou Gehrig syndrome is called motor neuron disease here in the UK. Yeah, because you guys don't have baseball because you're communist.
You hear that, England? You're communists. You know what I mean? By the way, when I watched Vaxxed today, so people...
Oh my God, you guys, we watched Vaxxed. It was terrible.
Terrible. And I'll tell you why it was terrible. And I knew why all the science was wrong and all the CDC whistleblower stuff is wrong and all the government conspiracy stuff is wrong and Julie Gerberding and all these people. It's like, look, come on, dudes. This has all been debunked by David Gorski and others going right down it. And I put a link in the video to actually, for people who want the debunking of it actually done. We watched it and we were like, you know what? We were planning. We had all this time allocated. We're like, we're going to rip this thing a new one frame by frame. And we're watching it. We're like, this is so boring. This is the grimmest, most lamest piece of shit documentary. Like, it's not even fun to make fun of. Like, say what you will about What the Health, okay? Vaxxed made it look like Casablanca, made it look like a masterpiece of freaking, film noir. This thing is a piece of shit. And on top of that, then we look at who directed it. Andrew Wakefield.
Who's a punk bitch. Come at me, Wakefield. Sucker.
Whatever, Wakefield, okay? You can't science, you can't direct. But you know what? I will give him this. Whenever they interview him, he's like, well, the thing is, if you look back at all the studies, he sounds like Grand Moff Tarkin.
He's British. Because he's British.
Yep. Well, that's what we're saying. Communists, the British. They make everything sound smart just by talking. Unless you're Cockney, in which case you just sound dope as fuck.
Listen, Carrie's from England. She's a fan, but y'all British accent done messed up a lot of things over here, okay?
That's right. I mean, just look what happened to Madonna.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hurtful. It was hurtful.
Also, we all had to accept Piers Morgan as our new king for like 6 months. It was terrible.
But I enjoyed watching all the Harry Potter movies because, Britain and magic, they go hand in hand. And Game of Thrones.
Hey, let's throw the show further off the rails. Alexandria says, what are your thoughts on gender? Fluid? ? Oh, God.
This is not something I want to talk about. When these guys have been drinking, because what will happen is, I don't even want to tell you what will happen, but you don't want to see it's NC-17, all right? Now we'll do. Listen, I'm actually, all joking aside, I've gotten several messages from people in various states of gender transformation, and they have either complimented or criticized how the show handles even our dialogue or our vocabulary around gender issues. And what I did was invite them to be on the show because I think it'd be great to hear from healthcare professionals who may be trans or may be struggling with gender identity or maybe still in the closet about stuff. And those kind of things, I think this is a great platform for that, for having a really cool, honest discussion with somebody in an authentic way about what it's like. Because for many of us, we just don't have the reference plane. Now, I worked in San Francisco at San Francisco General, so it was like on our checklist to ask about gender identity in a non-binary way, but this was in the 90s too, but San Francisco is a different universe, right, Logan? Right, Logan? Am I right?
Well, Tad is trans.
Yeah, we already established Tad is, what was it? Chinese trans EMS with...
Mexican.
Mexican with gout.
Yeah.
So he just
got gout, everybody.
He's the Rainbow Coalition all in one amazingly tight package. Look at him. He is
Tad's
hot.
actually a non-binary to you guys. He was a
there
zero.
it is.
He was a 0 and then he went to a 1. Now he's becoming a 2. There's Tad.
Don't make me use Tad as a weapon because Tad will cut you. Are we done, Tom? Why do you keep asking me questions?
I think we're done. The fact is, you can drink all you want. Science has proved it. So just keep on boozing.
Don't do that. Alcohol has risks and benefits. We're still figuring it out, but it brings joy to some people's lives while damaging and destroying others, and it has a huge societal cost. So if you drink, do it in moderation. If you are an alcoholic previously, don't drink at all, because there is no such thing as moderation for you. And that's the final take from Flash Gordon.
Bring it down at the end, man.
I know, right?
You know what? Who are you to judge me, all right? I'm trying to keep it real here, okay? I mean, Wakefield brought the whole movie vax down. It was so grim. It was like you're making an autistic army of zombie babies. And I'm like, you shut your hole, Wakefield. You're making an autistic army of zombie.
And we're going to go out and leave you guys with one final ass shot from the ass cam.
Yeah.
Parting words of freedom, Z.
What?
Does anybody remember the words of Livin' La Vida Loca?
Oh, yes.
Why'd you have to go Ricky Martin on me? You really? You're going to do that? You're going to do it? Inside, outside, in, living la vida loca.
Cut. It's over. The show's done. It was the worst show ever.
Bye.
Go.
Inside, outside, in.